We recently opened 2 new trails right here at Curry Canyon Ranch.
Stick around to see the beauty and biodiversity Curry Canyon has to offer, plus the new trail loops you can explore if you're up for a challenge. This property at 1,080 acres is home to a wide variety of precious Diablo Range species, such as prairie falcons, Alameda whipsnakes, California red-legged frogs, tiger salamanders, and peregrine falcons. Curry Canyon Ranch harbors more than 800 species of wildlife, including 30 that are rare or threatened. This is thanks to huge habitat diversity, from grassland and chaparral to live oak woodland, California Bay Laurel Forest, Blue Oak Woodland, Knobcone Pine Forest, riparian woodland, and ponds that serve as crucial water sources. The property is home to 12 of Mount Diablo's 16 plant habitats and more than a mile of sandstone cliffs. In addition to Curry Canyon itself, half a dozen other major canyons rise from the valley at 800 feet to at least 6 peaks. They include Windy Point, Knobcone Point, and 2,080-foot Cave Point. Cave Point is the ranch's highest elevation and was once a destination for tourists to Mount Diablo along the historic Curry Cave Trail, beginning in the 1870s.
You have this rock strata that runs through the majority of it that kind of is this divider of habitat types between the grassland on one side and chaparral on the other. You get really interesting flora as a result of fog that comes down into the canyon every day to some extent from the ocean. So you have a lot of diversity with your plant life in this particular part of Mount Diablo. You also have a lot of wildlife diversity because it is such a quiet little nook that's really isolated from other parts. It's kind of a sanctuary, if you will.
Surrounded on 3 sides by Mount Diablo State Park, Curry Canyon Ranch is also an excellent place to find species endemic to the mountain.
I think Curry Canyon's so incredible because there's such a high concentration of Mount Diablo manzanita here.
Mount Diablo manzanita is a rare and endemic species of manzanita, limited in geography to the area surrounding Mount Diablo. This land is traversed by Curry Creek, which tumbles down to Marsh Creek, Contra Costa County's second longest, least disturbed stream, so the property is extremely important from a watershed perspective. Save Mount Diablo's purchase of Curry Canyon Ranch was a project decades in the making. Since Save Mount Diablo's founding in 1971, we've known that Curry Canyon harbors a crucial collection of habitat and species diversity. But the project was daunting. It was the most important acquisition since the peak of North Peak in 1980, a series of acquisitions over 1,200 acres. It wasn't until 2013 that the property was finally protected, and it required the incredible support of the California Coastal Conservancy, the Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation, and Forever Wild donors, with a bridge loan from longtime supporters Dave and Dana Dornsife, then another from the Conservation Fund. 1,080 acres purchased for $7.2 million meant that Curry Canyon was Save Mount Diablo's largest, most expensive direct land acquisition at that time. Although we plan to continue owning parts of Curry Canyon Ranch for purposes such as education and stewardship, Save Mount Diablo is now working with our good partners, the East Contra Costa County Habitat Conservancy and California State Parks, to transfer parts of Curry Canyon Ranch to California State Parks.
So it used to be that when hikers wanted to travel from Riggs Canyon to Knobcone Point, or from Knobcone Point to Riggs Canyon, they would have to climb in and out of 4 different steep canyons. But now they can just travel this stretch of the trail from Knobcone Point to Riggs Canyon. Much more convenient.
Though the new trail offers a more direct route, these loops are still an accomplishment for avid hikers.
That's a long hill. It's a tough hill, but it was nice.
There are multiple loops available to build off of the original trail system that we opened up in March of 2023. You could travel from Curry Point to Oyster Point, back up Riggs Canyon, and through the Knobcone Point area and down to Curry Canyon Road. Another option could be to travel from Curry Point to Knobcone Point, following Knobcone Point Trail to Curry Canyon Road and back to Curry Point, about 7.5 miles and 1,300 feet of elevation gain. The third option is to start at Curry Point, Travel to Knobcone Point. Follow Knobcone Point Trail to Curry Cave Trail. Go along Grizzly Bear Road, drop into Curry Canyon, and journey on up the road back to Curry Point. This route is a 6.5-mile loop with 1,300 feet of elevation gain. If you're up for a challenge, you now also have the option to travel from Curry Point to Finley Road and back via several long, challenging, and visually stunning loops.
Relatively adventurous to get into this area from one direction or the other. You have three main kind of access points. One's Finley Road, another one is out of the Red Corral, and Curry Point being, you know, the potentially most attractive for people, I think, to get in. If you drop down Old Finley Road there, it'll take you to Morgan Territory Road, and then you can follow this fire road all the way down to the bottom of the canyon and then come all the way back up into Curry Canyon. And you can see where the sign is. And that drops you down into Riggs Canyon. So that's one way to get in. The other way to get in is from the bottom of that canyon out of Finley Road. Take that up Riggs Canyon. I think one of the most powerful places in all of Mount Diablo is looking up at the mountain from one direction along Knobcone Point, then being able to turn around and look at the Livermore Valley below, kind of fall away behind you, behind the Morgan Territory area. It's a pretty unique place to stand and remember, you know, what it is to be a human being.
The Knobcone Point Trail now connects public access to Riggs Canyon Road for the first time in nearly 100 years.
Today, it's open for people to enjoy.
These trails are part of more than 7 miles of new trails that we've opened in the last 3 years. We opened 1.7 miles of 2 new trails last fall, plus 1.47 miles of Knobcone Point Road Trail the year before, and over 4 miles of trails at our Mangini Ranch Educational Preserve. And we're not stopping there. Next on our list is McGee Preserve in Danville. We'll continue working to provide more trails so that everyone can enjoy the amazing landscapes we have in the Bay Area. Over the years, Save Mount Diablo has been piecing together better park access, and Curry Canyon is one of the last major canyon entrances on the main peaks of the mountain. For example, we purchased one of the last inholdings in Mount Diablo State Park, the Balzerzak inholding, in 2023. If you're an avid hiker who wants to leave the city hustle and bustle far behind, I highly recommend you come out to experience the Knobcone Point Trail. Knobcone Point, as its name suggests, offers not only significant elevation gain, but a spectacular view of Knobcone Pines.
The Knobcone pines that give the area, you know, its name, it's a pretty special little habitat. You know, for years before I worked for this organization, I kind of thought of Knobcone Point as this river of knobcone pines. You know, you look into the ridgeline and it's just this, it's almost like a flowing quantity of water with how tightly knit all these little pine trees are with each other coming up and over the hill and through the canyon.
These flowing swaths of knobcone pines are actually adapted to fire, which is a natural part of the landscape too. They're only one of many fire-following species, like the fire poppy and Mount Diablo jewel flower, that inhabit this land.
There's this huge piece of land that's surrounded by all this other public land that's really untouched. It's, to me, kind of the example of solitude in Mount Diablo. You get out into that area and it's really easy to forget where you are in the Bay Area. It's a pretty hard island to find in this sea of development.